Yes. Very good morning, all of you. And today is an official, yet another important day in our students' learning experience. We have a special guest for our C-suite meeting, Mr. Paul Narayanan, from the Vice President, Executive Vice President and Chief Information Officer of Theodis, Brentwood, United States of America. I hope I spelled it properly, sir. My apologies if I spelled wrongly.
Yeah. No, you're good. Just call me Pal, or you can call me Narayan, and everyone calls me Pal in US.
Yeah, only right. We'll call you the same.
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Paul. This actually we are from Adithya School of Business Management. We are running MBA program, and we have a good group of students taking up executive learning experience over here. And our chairman is also an industrialist engineer, C. Sukumaran, and Mr. Praveen Kumar is the trustee. On behalf of them and our Adithya School of Business Management, I'm the director and head of this institution, Sundar Nadarajan. You can call me Sundar also. So then, this is what the experience we give it to our students. We meet varieties of, industrialists, especially C-suite meeting. We meet a lot of members, the C-suite people across the world. Majority are from US, and you are one among them, and here to share the experience for us with our students. We welcome you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And we have Ms. Madhu Rajkumar with us, your colleague. And we welcome ma'am for this occasion, and thank you so much for arranging for our students. It's a great opportunity for our students. Let me invite Noble to give a welcome note. Before that, Ms. Madhu, you want to say something? I was told by Noble.
I really want to thank Pal because, I just reached out to him like 24 hours ago, and he graciously agreed to do this for our students. And, and he's a wonderful leader. I've been experiencing his leadership for the past 18 months or so. And he's so down to earth. He's such a great leader. So he's such a great fit for this, I think. And thank you so much, Pal, for really stepping in.
I am from Coimbatore. So when someone told some students from Coimbatore,
that's really wonderful. That's really wonderful, Paul. So, we are actually you are in your native actually. Yeah. Most of the boys are not from Coimbatore. They are from outskirts Coimbatore and studying in Coimbatore. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
This batch actually today who are going to talk to you are just nearby, all from Tamil Nadu and Kerala basically.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Madhu. You can be here and you can also have some insights and you can share. Now we leave it to Noble Christie to give an official welcome note. Then Mr. Paul can share little insights about his background and so on. Then we can start from that.
Sure.
So, hello, sir.
Hello.
Welcome to Asbm Talks in Noble. Asbm CEO Meet of 2023, organized by Adithya School of Business Management. It's an auspicious day, and I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome. I cordially welcome our chairman in her absence, E. Sukumaran sir, our managing trustee, Praveen Kumar sir, and our corporate gentleman, director and head Dr. N. Sundrapandian sir, and our eminent guest, Mr. Paul Narayanan. Welcome you, sir. Before we begin, joining with us today, the man of virtue and simplicity, Mr. Paul Narayanan, EVP and CIO of Americas of Geodis. Let me sum up with our CEO, Laurel. Mr. Paul Narayanan is a visionary information technology, IT senior executive with strong record of driving cash saving, business building enterprise-wide IT business transformation to support nationwide and international operation for major Fortune 500 companies and industry leaders as a EVP and CEO, CIO, Senior Vice President, and Director of Application Development for Master of Science in Accounting and Information System, along with the Master of Business Administration. I am solution-oriented and he's solution-oriented and highly analytical, and he's Incredible work enabled Geodis to grow revenue tens of millions annually and reduce costs while improving information quality and increasing customer base. Secure accounts with large realities. We are really happy to have you, sir. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Without much delay, I request our members of ASBM budding leader to start our session. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Noble.
Thank you, sir. So to
Well,
Lakshmi.
could you please share a little background about yourself by, so how you reach this position? That could be a starting inspiration for our students. Then we can start the questions one by one.
Sure. So before we start, a few things. I'm long-winded in my answers, so you guys have to clock me. If you need to get off after an hour, please do. So I'll try to keep it within an hour so that I don't take too much of your time. The other one is, if you don't understand my accent, please stop. I won't get offended. I'll slow down, I'll repeat, and I'll do my best to, slow down and answer if possible. Okay. So going into, what you asked, how I got to this position is basically, I knew I wanted this position. I asked it 3 times. I was turned down 3 times. He said some other time. And finally, I had to wait for my turn, but I was patient enough, and eventually I did get this position which I wanted. So where I'm going with that is, if you want something, you should ask. You should work for it. Don't mistake me. But at some point, you have to speak up and say, hey, I want this position. I think I can do it. And you have to say why you want that position and what do you bring to that position. One of the things, as I grew up where you guys grew up, we always thought, okay, hard work pays for itself, and eventually you will be rewarded. That's the culture, at least I grew up in. India is foreign to me. I've been out of India for 30 years. So what I remember of India is when I left. So that's what I grew up. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but at some point you also have to speak up and say what you want. It's not like I grew up with a brother and sister. When I grew up and we always got into a fight, the fight always says, hey, he has it, why shouldn't I have it? That doesn't work in corporate world. It's basically why you need it and what are you going to provide when you get to that position. That is the conversation you need to have. But like I said, I asked for it 3 times. The 4th time, I got it. But here is the other thing. If you ask for it, you better know what you're asking for. Eventually, when you get it, when I come home and sometimes I complain to my wife, she usually says, okay, you asked for it, they gave it to you, so deal with it. So that's the other part of it, which you have to be prepared for. That's the long-winded answer, but how I got here is just quick background of me. You would have seen my resume, but I'll make it very quick. I grew up in Coimbatore. I was not born in Coimbatore. I'm originally from south of India, which is closer to Madurai, what is called Chettinad. But most of my young adulthood, I went to Carmel Garden School for 13 years. Or that is in where is that? I forget that name of the place. It's not Singanallur. It is. It's close to Nirmala College. That's the college I remember. And then that's next to it. So that's where I went schooling, and then I went to TSG Tech. Then I left Coimbatore in '92. Decided for some reason that I'm going to go try something outside. And then I've been in Nashville for 30 years. I came to school here. School for me here was a checkbox, and I had to check it off because everyone said you need some schooling in the United States, which also taught me the culture here. Because you also need to understand the local culture, what you have to assimilate. There is always some parts of this culture which is good, which is bad. You have to assimilate and make sure that you are part of it if you decide to be here. And then, I have been only in 3 jobs. I don't move around, luckily or unluckily. This is my 3rd job, so that's where I am. So very quick background, my wife is from Bangalore. She's also in IT. She also still works, because she's very independent. She doesn't listen to me nor my father. She has her own mind, so she makes up her own mind today, which is fine. And I have one son. We started with a dog. We were successful with the dog. We got the kid, and then we got one more dog. So that's the order we went. we couldn't handle more than one kid, and he is around 20 years old. He's in college. He's second year in college. So it's just me and my wife now. So that's my background. I always tell people part of my family, it's who I am. For me, family is important. They are the one who made me. So for me, that's one of the reasons I always go into, telling about my family and my background. So that's a very quick summary of my background. But we can make it interactive. And again, when I was in your place in PSG Tech, I never asked questions. I was shy. If you're very shy, you can type the questions too. This was not available way back, but we can make it interactive. Hopefully, I answered that question.
Yes.
Do you guys want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a good inspiration. One is working with a long tenure in the same company. I don't think that's possible today in any situation. I strongly believe in that, Paul. Actually,
Sure.
I worked in Malaysia like 14 years in the same college and attached with UK universities. Then I was in US for 3 years in Chicago, worked for a company, Baxter Pharma. We implemented SAP. I was also into IT line little.
Sure.
Then I'm here in Coimbatore, just working with maybe I think I could say like one institution or maximum two, I could say. So it's countable. But the people, my students, with 4 or 5 years time, the same number of companies they have shifted actually.
Sure.
That's what the trend we are in, because the one thing maybe we people did not have that job mobility, what they have today.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what
choices.
I strongly believe. Yeah, choices are too many.
Yep.
That's where the companies, organizations started to suffer today. Like retention is the major issue everywhere.
Sure.
I don't know about US, but in India, that's a major issue today.
Yep, no, it's universally, it's the same. All human needs universally is same. I travel a lot, but that's one thing I tell. Yeah. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, universally that's the same. Yeah,
because I am into human resource management. I just closely observe the behaviors of people, how it moves and so on. My research was in talent management, where we were working on succession planning and retention, employee retention. So I think the trend is going to be different, and everything is going to be more like US. India is getting more like US today. There is no permanent jobs we are talking about. Everything, most of the things going to be contract basis. I believe in soon, so you can see that in India. Even colleges, I could see it's going to be happening. Most of the experts will stand forever. Expertise more important. You should be a resource person, then you can stand out in the industry. It's not like, you stick into a company, work for 10 years, 15 years. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. You should be an expert. You should be a key resource. Then you can demand whatever you want. I'm sure you are, you having all the credentials you have to have. So then you demand for your position, then you got it and you are shining today. And, people should not think simply, as you said, well said, you cannot go and demand, I need this. And you have to see what you're asking for. Well answered to that and in precise. That's really good. Let us start the questions and the initiatives from our students. One by one, please, students.
So to Nijas.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sir, greetings, sir. My name is Nijas Nihal. Thank you for this opportunity. I have this question. What's your leadership mantra and what makes you motivated? And tell some leadership skills that we have to follow in our life to be succeeding in the corporate life.
Sure. So, this is one of the interviews I did. So it exactly, they have the same question. So I'll repeat the same thing I said in the interview so that at least I'm consistent. So you can fact check me. So one of the things I always tell people is, how do you, in IT or in any organizations, you'll do a lot of projects, and okay, you will meet a lot of people, you will do a lot of things together. But at the end of it, what people will always remember about you and the interaction is how did you make them feel? Okay. So there was a poet in United States. Her name is Angela. You can Maya Angelou. Her quote was, "Hey, it doesn't matter what you tell people, how you treat people. Finally, it matters how did you treat them? How did they feel about you?" So I'll give you this example. As yesterday, Madhu reached out to me. It was midnight here. I was traveling. She asked, "Hey, these are students who are trying to get something done," and I'm at the same spot you guys were at. I was at this spot 30 years back. I know exactly what this is. You have to get this project done. You have to turn it in. You have to move on. I said, sure, absolutely. I'll be happy to do it. I said, I can do it tomorrow itself. I'm traveling today, but I'll come. But you guys will remember, you guys will all go into different lines of organization in C-suites, but you might always remember this guy turned around in 12 hours and, made it work for us. That you will always remember. Hopefully you'll remember. That is what I mean by how do you make, how do you treat people? How do they feel about the interaction? At the end of it, that is what it matters. Okay. And then your professor said, different things about you guys jumping jobs and everything. I also tell this, everyone's journey is different. My father's journey was different. My mother's journey was different. My sister and brother took different paths. Each one's path is entirely different. It is how do you feel about it? It's at the end of it is what is very important. If you feel comfortable with it, sure, absolutely. This was a path which I chose. Not that every day I know exactly what I want to do. Different points of life I sometimes don't know, but this is the path I chose. Again, one thing I always tell people, treat them with respect. Sometimes I don't do it too. Some days I get mad because I have long flights. I usually fly across the Atlantic, and the minute I walk through Atlantic, through the planes, sometimes I land and they call me and tell me a bad problem. After 8 hours or 12 hours of me traveling, sometimes I get irritated. I shouldn't, because problems always are going to show up. So at the end of it, you have to try to, problems that show up, but when they call and tell you about the problem, you don't get irritated. You say thank you, and then keep the phone if you're tired, and then you can deal with it later. So that is what I mean by how do you treat people. That is my mantra. That's what I go by. It's the same way I like my boss to treat me. So that's difficult. Trust me. It comes with age. Sometimes it never comes with age also. But it is very difficult what I'm saying, because you are under a lot of pressure to deliver. When they call and tell you this, I came from Atlanta this evening. As soon as I came to the office, I was preparing for this interview. Someone walked in and said, "Hey, there's a problem. We have a budget miss of $200,000. What do you do?" That's a lot of money, and you're just in February, but we have to figure out what to do. Okay. I'm not sure. Let me know if I was clear, whether that answer was something that resonates with you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Next question.
Next over to Sham.
Go ahead, Shyam.
Hello, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
can hear you.
Okay, sir. So, what's your strategy for your team building, sir?
Okay. One thing on team building is, it's same, I will usually go back to an example of a family always. For me, like I said, everything is grounded for me in family. Team building is same as family building. Okay, when you have one kid, it's very easy. Okay, at least it's easy compared to 3 kids. In my grandfather's generation, they had 7 kids. Okay, 8 kids, that's normal. Okay, so complexity, when the team is like family, as you gets bigger, it gets complex. Okay, it gets messy. It's not going to be easy. Team building is one of the biggest challenge. Your professor said he's in HR. The most difficult thing in IT is HR, is human capital, human relationship. How do you build a team and how do you make the team work together? That is the most difficult thing you will come across. IT challenges can be resolved. There are a lot of bright people, brighter than me. They will resolve any kind of problems. But the problems no one wants to resolve is the team building. How do you make a team work together and gel together? For me, I've been lucky. A lot of people have followed me. So I've been in my previous company, I was there 13 years. I built a team ground up. And then when I came to this company, which I've been almost close to 12 years, few people followed me from my previous job, which I was lucky. They trusted me and they followed me. Then I came here, I had to evaluate who all I can work with, because you have to be fair when you come into a new organization. You have to, again, look at everything possible. What can you use them for? You cannot come into an organization and fire everyone. Again, that is another part. You have to work with the people who are there, and then you try to fill in the gaps. You have to look at holistically to see what do you need, where you are going, and you have to evaluate. You have to get the right people on the bus, and they have to be in the right seat. And again, that part is extremely important if you want to be successful. But then after you get all these people together, the biggest challenge is how do you make all of them work together? that is not a destination. Okay, what I mean by destination, it's not done. It's a journey. It never ends. Okay, it never ends. The minute you take the eye off the ball, and again, that people part is what I call is the culture of the organization. It is important you build a culture that reflects your values, okay, and your company's values. If you don't build that, if you don't have that culture, you can have all kinds of strategies. The thing is, culture, a bad culture will eat up all your strategy and you're not going to get anywhere. So the team, how I build the team is I make sure I have my technical people. And then I also need to fill them with leaders who can lead, who are technical. I came from programming. I programmed all my life, but I made a choice that I want to go into management. Then you have to identify those people who want to go into management, who are willing to lead, and who are willing to learn. I do have coaches. Last year I had one coach. 3 years back when I took a new role, I had 2 coaches. Coaches in the sense they teach me what I should be focused on, what I shouldn't be focused on. So it is always a continuous learning aspect. So for me, from the team building aspect, I want to give opportunities for people who are been there longer so they can grow. And I always tell people, try. If you don't like it, you can always go back to your old job. But if you don't try, you're not going to learn what you like or not like. So for me, that is the aspect of the team building, but that changes every year as the organization grows. My team building when we were a $300 million company is not going to be the same when I am a $5 billion company. It changes. Okay. So at every part of the organization, as it evolves, you have to bring in new ingredients. For example, it's like making food. You learn some new ingredients, you're going to bring that new ingredients in. It is not going to be exactly the same every year when you cook. It's going to change, and you have to evolve with that. So that is how I go about looking at it. Next year, we will be rolling out the 2027 strategy for Geodis, the next 5-year plan. For that, I have to evaluate what do I need? What is the business need to support the 2027 strategy? That is how IT will be then, tuned to. So basically, you have to tune your team to what the strategy of the organization is.
Yep.
Next, over to Anina. I'm sorry, sir. It's over to Soumya.
Is she there? She's having any issue. Unmute and talk, Soumya. Maybe the other question, she can come back later. Yeah.
So, hello, sir.
Hello.
First of all, I really got inspired by your mantra while you said about when you get irritated, you just shut and deal with it later. So really got inspired.
Except don't do that with, if you ever get married, don't do that with your wife. If you're irritated, you still have to deal with it. If you shut down and leave, it doesn't work with your wife. So please don't follow that with your wife if you get married or if you're already married.
Okay, sir. Yeah, for that we have to be.
Don't, we should not take it forever, you know. So in times, rare times where tough time you have, you can. But in the team also, as Paul said, that's like family, another family. So
Yep.
you have to deal with it. You have to accept it. Adaptability is what everything. So you
Yep.
cannot go and deal with it and go away from things. You cannot ignore things, ignore people. You
That's
have to deal with it.
No, you can deal with it just by giving something.
Irritating
So
will be there,
that's
but
why.
you have to keep irritation with you. You should not show it out. That's important.
That's correct. That is difficult, but teachers do that very well because that is something that you have to learn
No
from
other choice.
teachers.
We have no other choice.
Yeah. And a lot of my teachers dealt with that too.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's it's
So
never
my question was,
ever going issue with the teachers. Basically, every day you have to practice this. If we get irritated, nothing will happen. Our job is accepting irritation and moving forward.
Forward. Yes, that is correct.
Yes, Noble, your question.
so my
Not
question
audible.
was,
Samya, are you ready?
I will tell you what worked for me. Okay, I did a lot of schooling. I did management. I did computer science. I programmed. That's what I liked. But at some point, you have to decide what do you want to do. A lot of people have some pre-built notions that if I go away from technical, that when there is a job cut or the job is laid off, I will not have a job. That is not really true. That has nothing to do with the job market, nothing to do with the economy and everything. It is what are you comfortable. Okay, that is something which I always tell people. It doesn't matter whether you're technical or non-technical, whether you're in management or not in management. The end, the choice is yours. But a lot of people from Asian origin always have this notion, hey, if I'm technical, I can never be fired. Okay, that concept has gone. That is when I came here into the States. We all thought being technical, as job security. It really is not. One of the things then when I decided, okay, I've learned the technical part, now I want to go into management. That's a decision I made. Okay, and then I said, okay, I need to start building these things from my management standpoint. So they do a lot of tests on me at different years to work on my personality. So one of the things I'll tell you, I'm an introvert by nature. I allowed, I'll be alone with my dog and I'm happy. But once I decided, hey, I want to lead a team, I want to manage a team, I want to work with people. Okay, then I had to make a choice that I am not going to be an introvert anymore. I'm going to force myself to talk to people, to understand where they are coming from. And I have to interact with a lot of other people and make it work. I have to get to work through other people. It's not about me alone programming. I can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and get things programmed. That's how I work. So once, you come into management, it is not about you anymore. It's how do you get others to do what you want them to do or convince them and lead them. So there is always a confusion between technical and management. I don't think there's a clear distinction. Once you make a choice that, okay, you want to go into management, you're not going to lose your technical skills. Your logical skills are still going to be there. The only thing is you don't have time to program. If I'm still sitting and programming, then there's a problem because I'm not playing my position. In cricket, cricket is very famous in India. You have the bowler, you have the batsman, you have the fielders. Everyone have to play their position. So in my opinion, you have to make a choice. Okay, you want to go learn the technical part, move into management? Absolutely. I think a lot of people from Asia have made the transition and they are nowadays very comfortable with it. Originally, when in my generation, people were not very comfortable with it, but then we all learned that yes, you can be comfortable on both, and you don't need to be plugged into one. So in my journey was, I learned the technical part, which I was very comfortable with, and then I wanted this something which I was aspiring for, then I had to go learn those things. So from my, and then the management for me is, technical was easy. And nothing, I can put in those days, it was Sony Walkman and I can program all day long. The management is one of the most toughest ones I have ever done. The further you go up in an organization, management gets even more tougher because you have to make some choices. Some of the choices you make really eat into you because you will not know the outcomes of these choices until it plays out. And that means you have to be comfortable with making those choices. And it's not black or white. There's a lot of gray area. You have to be very comfortable with that from the management standpoint, that you are going to make some decisions. You take all the best possible advices from everyone and make a choice. At the end, you have to make a choice. And I always tell people, with one of the things Harry Truman said, one of the presidents, he said, the buck finally stops with you. The buck stops with me. And the last saying I always tell people is, success is a lot of fathers, failures don't have any. Failures stop with you as a leader. And you have to own it and you have to be comfortable with it. If you're not, don't come into management. If you are not comfortable with some of these things, making tough choices, you will make some wrong calls. Trust me. I have made a lot of wrong calls. Every day I make wrong calls and I learn from it, but I have to show up tomorrow. I cannot say, hey, I made a mistake yesterday, I'm not going to the office today. No, I have to show up tomorrow morning and deal with the mistakes I made or my team made, which then falls on me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for it.
Sure.
It's really helpful. And it's so to Anina.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can.
Greetings, sir. My name is Anina. Okay. Learning is a continuous process as a CAO. How do you timely update yourself?
One, again, I'll go back to my family. My family is the most important critic of me. They very clearly will tell when I'm wrong and they don't hold punches back. That includes my wife and son. So one thing I'll tell you, your kids, your wife, your parents, they teach a lot, okay? Your family teaches you a lot. That I have learned along the way. The most important lessons in my life, I've learned from my closest family. That is the human aspect of it. The human aspect of it, it's very difficult to, you can learn it, you can read in psychology books, you can do, there's a lot of books to read, but at the end you have to apply it, okay? And it's not one size fits all. I cannot take, if Madhu comes with a problem tomorrow, I can't take the same solution and give it to, someone else who comes day after tomorrow with an human resource problem. So there are two aspects at the C level. One is, your strategy, your technical problems. If in case of this, I'm leading a very technical team. So there is a lot of challenges around technology itself. We'll always find a way because there are a lot more smarter people in my organization than me. And I usually can trust on them and they will deliver me, the solution, what we want. What I need to learn and read is how do you form strategies at my level? What is going to happen in 5-6 years, okay, in this industry? And that is what I need to spend a lot of time in educating. I shouldn't be educating myself. What is the best program? Is it .NET or Java? Or is, this one programming language is better than the other. That is not what you get to do when you're in the C-level. What you have to see is where is the business going in the next 5 years, and what is that you have to do, and how do you manage the IT team to get there? So the learning from that standpoint is more from the industry, where the industry is going. Whatever the industry you are in this case, we are in the logistics industry. I am in the logistics industry. I have to make sure I talk to the business leaders and learn. So the most important other aspect of this industry is you have to talk to your customers. You have to talk to your business leaders and understand where it is going. Yes, reading books, reading, my attention span is very short, so I don't read long books. I read quick articles when it comes across Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I have it in my phone. So I read quick articles, and then if I want some more details, I will ask someone in my team to research and give me the facts. Okay, that is how I learn. So I learn, one, definitely from customers, my business partners who know this industry, who are much smarter than me, to form the strategy to align it with the business. The other aspect is, reading up on journals, what is going on. And then the third aspect, the human aspect, the best one who teaches me on most of those things are my family and my team. And my team is an extended family. I listen to a lot of them. I talk to everyone who starts in my team, and then, learn from that. Every time I talk to someone, I learn. That is how I learn. Everyone learns differently. I attend one conference a year. That's what they allow me to do. And then I usually attend at least 3 or 4 customer calls every other week. And these customer calls are extremely important. So that is how I learn. But like I said, everyone learns different. That's my personal experience.
Thank you, sir. Next over to Soumya.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Greetings, sir. Myself, Soumya. Your opinion on organizational conflicts and how they could be resolved.
There is, I'll answer the second part. It cannot be 100% resolved. Okay. Organization conflict is, again, coming back to the families, like family conflicts. Some conflicts can be resolved. Some conflicts are worth resolving. Some conflicts are not worth resolving. Okay, there is 3 aspects to it. You have to decide what is that you want to do. One thing I will tell, I have worked with different bosses. Everyone took a different approach. One of my bosses didn't want to deal with conflict at all. He said, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to deal with it. Okay. One boss was in the other extreme, where, they wanted to be part of everything. That means you are really pulled into the weeds. In an organization of my size, if I get into every conflict resolution, I will not have enough time in a day. So my usual thing is, okay, certain things people will say, as leaders, as you grow up in the organization, one of the things is 2 things which becomes a problem. One, you start having a lot of blind spots because you're way up there. Okay. The other one is you lose empathy. That means you become a big shot, and then you almost lose empathy and you lose reality. Okay. Those 2 things are extremely important to watch for. Empathy is, you need to understand if Madhu and someone else in her team are not getting along, they have a conflict. You have to have empathy for both of them. Madhu has a viewpoint, the other person has a viewpoint, not that one person is right or wrong. Okay. Empathy as you grow up in an organization, and blind spots are extremely important for C-level people to know that there is. You have to recognize it. Then the other aspect which I told you is, I think we have to live with some conflicts. Some conflicts are good in an organization. But what I focus on is the conflicts which will determine an outcome that is extremely important for an organization. What I mean by that is, so if we are going to run a project, let's take an SAP project. If there is a decision to be made between SAP and Oracle, and there are two different viewpoints and they are all having conflicts about it in my team, then I will get involved because this is a multi-million-dollar project. And if I don't get involved and the choice we make is going to dictate how Geodis will operate in the next 10 years, that's a big strategic decision. So I do get involved in conflicts where it involves, the outcome that affects the company in a big way. But I have to let some of the other conflicts resolve by itself. Some do. And in some cases, when it becomes very toxic, that's what I said. One of my bosses let it to become very toxic. You cannot let it become toxic, because then once that sets in, then your culture changes. At that point, you have to make some tough choices that either you get all the people in and say, hey, this has to change. That's what I call come to Jesus meeting. Very rarely I do that. At that point, I am point blank. I'm not shy in telling this is what I want. At that point, you are going to call the shots. You're going to tell exactly what you want, because all the niceties has gone out. At that point, you're going to say, this is what we are going to do. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You need to align to it, that this is my choice at the end. It is a true democracy. But when it comes finally to certain aspects where you are not able to go forward from the company standpoint, the company comes, foremost. It's not about PAL. It's not about any one team or the other. Okay. You have to make the call. And that's what you are finally paid for. You have that job because you have to call that in those conflicts. Again, as you grow in organizations, you will figure it out in the sense what you have to always live with conflicts. Again, that's a long-winded answer. Again, I'll equate exactly to your family. If you have family, this is the same way conflicts happen. Some conflicts is always going to be there.
Thank you, sir. So my question was, what makes you special if you were to write an abstract about yourself?
Okay. This one I really had to ask someone, because they told me, okay, what makes me special? What is the headlines? PAL always smiles. It doesn't matter what happens. Tomorrow the sun rises. And, the word they always use is I make fun of myself on different aspects. And then people, usually lighten up when that happens with customers and everyone. And then that makes me very approachable. I'm sorry, go ahead. Someone said something?
No, sir.
No, sir, you can continue.
Okay, so basically what it comes down to, what I was told, and then again, I can't write this up on my own, is that I make people welcomed and comfortable, and customers too. I deal with a lot of customers to deal with any situation. I will be, in a lot of cases, not happy, but I smile even through that, and then I'll get through it. So they said that, smile is what is important for me. So that is the headlines. There you go. I don't know why, but that's always been the case.
Thank you, sir. Then it's over to Lashwin.
Hi, sir. I am listening. What was the takeaway for your prior roles, sir?
From my prior role, okay, and there is always a lot of takeaways from prior role, even in this role. I was in that organization for 13 years. They gave me a chance to build a lot of stuff ground up. Okay. I was given a lot of leeway to make choices. But one of the things which I could have done better from my previous roles is be a little more vocal, and say, hey, I worked for this. This is what I want. Usually I give it a little longer than what is expected. And lately I've learned, okay, I have to have a time horizon for everything. So once I have my time horizon, then I'm comfortable with it. And then I will box myself in it saying, hey, I'm going to see this through. And once that time horizon is there, then I make a choice. So that I learned from my previous job, that I should have time horizons for everything. If I don't, then, you always keep saying, okay, let me try for 6 more months. Let me try for 6 more months. And then you have to, execute on the time horizons once you made that choice. So for example, in this particular role, I have a time horizon of what I want to be when. If that doesn't happen in the time horizon, I will have a conversation with my boss saying, hey, this is he already knows my time horizon. That is another thing. My boss knows exactly what my time horizon on some things are. And he knows exactly if it doesn't happen, we will have a different conversation about what PAL wants, okay? And I have no problem telling my boss, this is the time horizon, this is what I'm committed for. And during that time, when I give my word, I'll do it. So what I've learned from my previous job, I didn't have time horizons. So some things I might have done differently and pulled the trigger on something differently. But also looking back, I don't have regrets about it, because I saw some of my bosses who came to a role they were not prepared for. And, they did their own mistakes, which everyone does. Just to be clear, I make my own mistakes. I got the C title 5 years back, but I always tell my boss, it took me 3 years to learn the full job after I got the title, even though I was in IT for so long. I was not comfortable with every aspect of the job, because I grew up on the application side, but then you have infrastructure, then you have security, then you have all these new areas of cloud computing that came that was not there. Not that I'll ever become an expert in all that, but I also need to understand what all those teams do. So if someone tells you that they got this job and they knew day one everything about that job, they are really good. You need to hire them as soon as you see someone like that. For me, it took time to learn. So I always took the time to learn. That was my advantage and disadvantage, if you want to put it that way. That's what I learned from my previous job. But my previous job was an entirely different domain. I was in the insurance and finance domain. This is my first logistics job. I've never been in logistics. But again, the aspect of that came from the previous job. I always learn my domain. IT for IT's sake is already gone, okay? If I go execute something because I like it, I won't have this job. I shouldn't have this job. Let me put it that way. I have to align with what the business wants. The business is what makes IT tick. Yes, we are a logistics company. IT is a huge part, but I know this domain. I've learned this domain. I'm not an expert. That's what I'll tell you. If you ever go into something like your professor said, become an expert in the domain. You should, and then you can always change a domain and you can become an expert again. And I'm positive, I have another 15 to 20 years of a career, and I will switch to a different domain if someone gives me a chance. And I might not be in logistics, which is okay. And I can learn that. I'm willing to put that time. So that's what I learned from a previous job, is learn the domain. Whatever that domain is, you will go a long way.
That is one of the skills. Dynamism is one of the good quality of great leaders in the world. Keeping yourself adaptable and moving forward is something important. So like I was in the education industry, then shifted to SAP IT in US, again come back to India. Location and industry should not be rigid in our mind. We should be dynamic and available for all. And future, as tomorrow, anything can happen, as you said. Keep smiling and accepting, moving forward. And that is what these people today, I understand, sir, from the way I observe, they are rigid. They think they are dynamic, but they are rigid. They fix something in their mind and come, I only want this, like that. Because MBA is basically what I trained them. MBA is Master of Business Administration. You should aim to get into a C-suite position in future. That's how the whole aim, you are heading towards. On the way, you can pick up things through different industries, whatever industry, it doesn't matter. Don't be stubborn on particular. Tomorrow, we don't know. The logistics might go away, all automated will come. Something might come, everything will be automated. Robots might enter into the field, robots. We are in industry 5.0 and 6.0 we are talking about already. So, we have to be ready for all these things. The mind should be open. And as I said, I was reading something recently, if you don't mind, I just wanted to look at it, a CEO should be thinking about, only thing they should think about is the mindset. Not about the industry, not about the people, not about anything else, just mindset. That's a prime kind of element they should think about, the asset, not about money, anything else, something they were talking about, so that I see that real practice you have made it and the inspiration. I wanted to just add on to your points and
absolutely.
make these people to realize that, sir. That's what I entered here. Sorry, please continue. The next question, please.
Sure.
It's over to Shyam, sir.
But also remember, to your professor's point, professors and your parents are very hard on you. Okay, don't take it personally. That's their job.
No, actually, we are so much into that, sir. Even like parents, we wanted to give them the best. That's a whole thing. Even as parents, they do mistake us. We don't care, right? Parents don't care. We also don't care. That's a culture we lived with. But that is not the case in the industry. When they don't act on the first particular day, then they are punished. And the same way, what they do in the do at home and in the college, they can't do it in the industry. They are not the same. That they have to understand. Anyway, they get into the corporate world, they will understand better, sir. That's the reason they come back to us after they graduate. So they really understand our values. As you know, your parents' values now, and your kid, your son might know maybe after 5 years or 10 years much better than now. So same way, these boys and girls will know us much better after they graduate. They groom well and they grow well, and they will understand the reality, what we have given the best for them. So that is the life of teachers and parents.
Go ahead. Sorry, someone was
please,
saying.
Sir, please, sir.
You guys okay with time? I'm okay. I have only one call after this.
Fine,
later.
sir. It's fine, sir.
Okay.
I might be just taking 5 minutes off for another call. Then I'll be joining back, sir. Please continue.
Let's go to Anina.
Can you hear me, sir?
Hello.
Hello, sir. How do you bring value to your stakeholders? Can you brief us on your stakeholders?
Again, I'll speak about the IT industry because that's what I know. Okay. Like I said, few statements, IT for IT's sake is gone. Okay. If you do IT because PAL likes something and it's very cool, that will not fly. You have to align to what your stakeholders want, and you have to be very closely talking to them on a daily basis when you set up the strategy and also on the tactical side. Both should be aligned. So when we started at Geodis, and even when I started in the previous company, there was not a good, what do you call, perception of IT, okay? Usually when you come into an organization, this is what you will hear about IT. This is in general, that's the case, is anything that goes to IT never comes out of it, okay? They take too long to do it. They are very expensive, okay? There is truth to a lot of it, okay? But one of the things which you have to do with an organization, which I have thought about why I stay with an organization for a long time, it takes time to change the culture of your stakeholders. One is because there are two reasons why that happens within IT. One is the person who's leading the IT don't communicate very well, okay? So what I mean by communicating well, it is my job to make sure all my stakeholders know what my team is working on, and also to make sure when my team is successful in implementing something, they know about it and we celebrate our wins. So one thing as a leader, it is your job to make sure your stakeholders know what your team is working on, and you also work with your stakeholders to understand their priorities. If you don't do any of these two things, you will lose your stakeholders, okay? Because IT is in a very, very expensive cost center in most of the companies. In Geodis, it's again in a very expensive cost center. My budget is a very big budget, and there's a lot of money I spend. When I mean by I spend, it's finally I sign the checks. That means, I am responsible for everything we spend from the Geodis standpoint. So from that stakeholder standpoint, you have to think from their standpoint. Here is a guy who's spending, or a girl who's heading IT, spending a lot of money we are making. What is the value I'm getting? Okay. That means you have to take a lot of time to communicate to them what the value is. Like I said, I'm a very introvert person. I did not, understand this value as I was growing up. Once I came up in the organization, it always comes to, you have to have a story of why. They need to understand that story, because you start talking technical, no one is going to follow you. Okay, then you will lose them. So one thing I am not good at is communication. I can talk, okay, but I cannot present properly when it comes to a deck and everything. So 4 years back, one of my coaches said, "Pal, you need to improve on this." I said, this is the most difficult thing for me to improve. He said, "Why don't you hire someone who does that for you?" Okay, so what I did? I have now 2 people. All they do is produce decks, produce, what I should say, what should I, present. Everything is scripted for me. That means they work with me the last 4 years. They exactly know what I'm thinking. As soon as I call them and say, "Hey, I have this meeting, prepare for this," they will immediately prepare and bring it, so that I don't need, because they have worked with me so long, they know exactly what I want them to say. What will I say? That means that they are the people who, guide me through the communications. They produce all my decks, the management deck, the technical deck, because, producing a PowerPoint deck is tough. You have to spend a lot of time. The deck has to be self-explanatory. It should tell the reason why you're doing something and what are the benefits you're going to get out of it. So communication on that part is extremely important. So finally I said, okay, this is something I'm not good at, and I'm never going to be good at, because I don't have enough time in a day to do all this. So I went and got the people who do it for me and make sure that I do it well. So from that standpoint, from managing your stakeholders is extremely important. So today, I'll give you an example. I was traveling, but one of our warehouses, which we operate huge warehouses. When I mean by huge warehouses, let's take a cricket ground. You guys know cricket ground. Some of our warehouses are 2 cricket grounds big. Okay, that means you can land a small plane and take the small plane off. That's how big this warehouse, which is going production over the weekend. A lot of people worked over the weekend. A lot of people called and kept me updated. What's the issues? Today they ran into an issue. I had to immediately call my boss and the chief operating officer to make sure they know before anyone knows. Okay, that means I have to keep them informed. Then they know. As soon as before they ask, I tell them, "Hey, I already got it. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it." But I have to tell them. That means I have to communicate to them before they even ask. Okay, that is how you manage your stakeholders. Once you get that point, it becomes very easy after that, because you have people who trust you. One of the biggest challenge in an IT job, and I'm only talking about IT as a CIO, is managing the CFO, the chief financial officer. Some of you will become chief financial officers, and your biggest nightmare, I'll tell you today, will be the IT person. Okay, because they spend a lot of your money, and then you as a CFO really do not know what you're getting. But in all my life, I have never gone to the CFO's office to ask for money. I don't. My team does. That means my team is prepared to go have the conversation with this team. His team is prepared. They go update him. And then if everyone agrees, the money comes. If everyone doesn't agree, we'll work on it until everyone agrees. The transparency has to be there to manage stakeholders. And especially in IT, it's very tough, because again, I'll tell you, we spend a lot of money, and I have to be conscious about it. I'm not sure whether I answered your question.
Thank you, sir. It's really helpful for us. So, on last question by
Sure.
Nikhil Nijas.
So we think you value your family so much. You are putting so many examples from your family. So I have this question based on the work culture. There are so many employees from different parts of the world, and how you manage them. And I have had Indians are very good at making excuses for what they have done wrong in their job. So what's your comment on that?
About which one? About the family or the Indians making excuses for it?
No, sir. No, sir. Regarding
Okay.
job.
Regarding the job. So the question is, Indians are good in making excuses. Is that the question?
No, sir. How you manage? There are so many different parts of the world. How you manage the culture and all.
Yep. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yes, you're right. So for me, one of the things which I made a decision is when I came to the States, I've never worked in India, right or wrong, I never had that experience. So for me, everything is what I know about work is based in United States. But then when I got an opportunity, I do manage teams in Europe. I have two products which I manage across all of Europe. Then we have built the last 3 years, we have built teams in India. So for me, working with India itself is new because I have to learn the Indian culture now, the work culture, because it's entirely different when I was there or when my father worked. And then I have teams all the way into Latin America, which is, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia, Brazil. So one thing which I do, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I love traveling for work and non-work. I also, at least 4 times a year, I'll make sure I will travel with my son and wife. When I go to a country, I do spend time. Every country we do business in, which I have a team, I have been there for work and then also for pleasure. And I've gone back. So for example, in Peru, I've hiked Machu Picchu, which I've hiked with the locals there for 5 days. I've spent a lot of time in Peru learning the culture there. I've been to Patagonia, which is in Argentina and Chile. And so I had the good fortune of hiking there also. I hiked for a week because when you hike, you understand the culture, you talk with people, you are not on a bus seeing different things and leaving the country also. Again, I've had opportunities to be in Brazil for a New Year, which is the biggest New Year celebration. You understand their culture. Last year, I was in New Year in Mexico. It's celebrated differently. The year before, I was in Ecuador, where we are about to start business. What I'm understanding culture is extremely important because everyone doesn't come from the same background. Okay, even in India. So I'll give you an example. The culture in the South is different from the culture in the North. Not that one culture is right or wrong. It's different. Okay. There is no right or wrong answer here. It is different and how they operate. Even, when I work with my Paris team, it is entirely different. They work at a different pace. How they do stuff is different than what the Americans do. And then what the Latin Americans do. Then I work with people in Singapore. They work entirely differently. They finally all get to the same answer, but they are differently wired and how they go about doing it is different. You cannot, go into a situation and say, no, that is not the right way to do it. We are going to do it the American way. That will not fly. Okay. Yes, American way is one of the ways. That doesn't mean it is the only way. Okay. That you have to learn very quickly. Otherwise, you will lose the team in all these other cultures and they're not going to follow you. So a lot of people think, first when they see me 5 years back when Geodis bought us, they all talked to me. They thought, oh, this guy is from India. So then within 2 days, they realize, oh, this guy is as American as it gets. He has nothing to do with India. But then they finally form an opinion. He's somewhere in between. Okay, you can work with him. because Europe culture is different than American culture. And the same with Indian culture too. It's entirely different. And it has good and bad with everything. So that's the one thing which I have to put more time and effort to learn, and I'm still learning, but that doesn't stop. Again, it's not a black or white answer. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of gray areas when it comes to culture, and how everyone thinks differently, and where they're coming from. But one thing is very, very common across our culture after COVID. No one wants to come to the office. I've had that problem across the world. Everyone wants to work from home. That's the biggest issue now I'm having. Anything else?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, sir. We had a great learning session, and we really enjoyed your session actually. And I now find a person like you so adapted to with family, and now seen a person such as CIO so adapted with the family, and really happy that you have been, and it's an inspiration for us. Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem. Good luck. So you guys are all second year's MBA or first year MBA?
No, sir, first MBA.
Okay, so you have one more year.
First year, sir.
It's 2 years
Yeah.
MBA program, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, got it.
So
So I need to thank Noble also now because I learned some fact about Pal. So, yep, thank you. Thank you, Pal, and
Sure.
thank you, Noble.
Sure.
thank you.
Good luck with your course, guys.
So last
Thank
session,
you.
end address. Over to Sham.
Hey, Sham. I think you're frozen.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay. Let's start about the vote of thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Greetings to all. The deepest craving of human nature is showing gratitude. I admit it my proud privilege through the words of gratitude of the gathering. On behalf of my Adithya School of Business Management, I offer my heartfelt thanks all of you. I would like to honorable chief guest, Mr. Paul Narayanan sir, for the valuable presence. We are thankful to you for the precious time, sir. I would like to thank for our chairman, Engineering Sugumaran sir, for the constant support and guidance. And I thank for our managing trustee, Mr. Praveen Kumar sir. I extended gratitude our dear N. Subrapan sir, head of Adithya School of Business Management, for giving this opportunity. Once again, I am very gratitude to all of you for a valuable presence. And once again, thank you for giving this opportunity, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good luck.
So thank you, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
போயிட்டு